walking through and he starts opening these file cabinet double doors up in the basement. And man, there's all kinds of Hell's Angel shit in the basement. I'm like, oh no. Oh no.
Welcome to this episode of Chatting with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got Repo Rod.
Multiple times, dudes get sliced, stabbed. Just keep on walking. It's like, being in the city, man. Where I'm from, if I go to the city and the guy in front of me gets shot, if I got somebody with me, I'm grabbing their arm, like, keep walking. You didn't see shit. Keep on walking. That's got nothing to do with us. Keep going. That's how I was raised. I was a little kid, used to go with my dad up into Madison Square Garden in New York City for, I think it was WWF back then, the wrestling or something. And my dad and I were walking back down the street to the parking lot. And guy got shot right there in front of us, like 20 feet in front of us. I think I was like 12 years old. My dad grabs me up under the arm, half picks me up where my toes ain't even touching the ground. Keep moving, son. You ain't see nothing. Keep moving. Back to the car. I'm like, but Dad, he goes, you didn't see shit, son. Remember that. It doesn't affect you. It's not directly affecting your life. You didn't see shit. Keep moving. And I never forgot that. Don't got to do with me. I'm not getting involved in it.
So now once you get out, you're on parole.
Mm-hmm.
Did they ever violate you?
They tried to a few times because I married this whack job when I got out, and I had a dude buying a bike off of me that wasn't. It was supposed to be coming by and making payments and stuff, and he was coming by and dropping off blow to her, and she was whacked out on the shit, went nuts, and they tried to violate me when she went cuckoo, but that didn't work. They drugged me back in. I had, I think, 3 or 4 times. Law enforcement, I forget what branch it was. It wasn't like the parole board or anything, and try to talk to me like, we can help you out. I'm like, how can you help me? Well, if you want to talk to us about some stuff and, we know who killed this person. I'm like, I don't know nothing. And I wasn't there. Hearsay doesn't convict the person, so.
You helped me enough.
Sure. Yeah. I'll help you out, even though you knew I was innocent of my charges, and the police and district attorney in Philadelphia were all dirty and corrupt, incarcerated me on false charges that you fully know, and the presidential judge and several others knew. And because they were a Commonwealth state, they have to go A to Z. They can't go and jump A to M to R to Y because they're a Commonwealth state. But you know that the man is guilty, and you still put me away. Took my family, my children, my home, my job, my livelihood away from me for something you knew I didn't do. And Larry Krasner, you knew it too, and you still know it.
So do you have contact with the club while you're on parole?
No, we could not have any contact whatsoever with the club. I had guys that would try to reach out to me that, knew I was out on the street, and I'd be like, well, you can't come around my house, man. Don't even stop by and drop off a box of candy or nothing. Because the last thing I need is, I had one agent, he would sit. Like, he wasn't even really good about hiding. He would sit down the road from my house in his fully tinted out, little Chevy Impala or whatever the hell those cars are, they all drive. And sit there like he was stalking me, on stakeout. I kind of thought it was funny because I would go out the back door, hop over the back fence, go down around the block, and come up behind him and tap on the window like, Eddie Murphy here, man. There's a banana in your tailpipe. A couple of times he didn't think it was funny, but he laughed a couple of them. Be like, I just stuck the banana in your tailpipe. And I'm like, if you really want to know how to do some covert shit, man, I could help you out with that. I could train and teach you. But then again, I really can't because you're law enforcement. Okay, enough being funny. Let's go over to the house. Okay. Why sit down the street, man? Just pull up in front of my house, you know?
Yeah. I mean, they're making it pretty obvious, right?
He was trying. I guess he sit back like, dude, I go walk out to my garage and look out the window and see the front of your car down the block. Like you stick out like a sore thumb. At
Would they
least
pop
change
up?
your car or something. Huh?
Would they pop up and search your house on random?
Oh yeah. Yep. And the funny thing was, the whack job I wound up marrying, her old man was actually a prospect for me in the club. And he had passed away. And I'd known him and her for like 20 some years. He had passed away while I was jammed up. And, you know, she used to start coming to visit me, whatever, you know, and got out and wound up leaving the first residency that I was at and going down there with her. When I tell you, like, you know, he was out. I even went with him when he turned all of his stuff in when he had left. And so we're going through the house and, you know, I was not out on the street when that, you know, the home check takes place.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I'm walking through and, you know, they're going to do the approval and all this. And I'm walking through and he starts opening these file cabinet double doors up in the basement. And man, there's all kinds of Hell's Angel shit in the basement. I'm like, oh no. Oh no. And he's like, what is this? I go, man, I don't know. Well, where did it come from? I'm like, well, it's not mine. You know, the hero man that died was, you know, in the club and he was.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, but he's dead.
Yeah, they don't want to hear none of that shit, right?
Yeah. You know, he's dead, man. He's gone, you know. So there is no association because technically he was in, not her. And that's exactly what I told him. Technically, there's no association because he was the one that was in, not her. Women aren't allowed. So he's dead now. You technically can't stop it. He was like, yeah, yeah, I guess you're right. And I go, no, I know I'm right. I didn't know if I was right or not, but if he was going to play with it, man, I was going for it. You know, if you fall for that line, the sinker and the hook, man, bite.
Obviously, they can do whatever they want.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I moved one time when the wife went kooky. I met my buddies, man. I want to say that was the worst dirtbag parole officer I had the whole time. He was horrible. Man, he would come 5 o'clock in the morning, banging on the door like a no-knock warrant, you know. Marshal service coming in, open the door at 5 o'clock in the morning. Throughout the day. And he was a jerk. He was originally up in the tip of New Jersey where he lived. And supposedly he like fucked off for a year and didn't do his job and they caught him. So they made him come down here every day. And he didn't like that hour and a half drive.
No punishment for him, right?
Yeah, yeah. You know, he did his own, but he was horrible. I mean, he was a jerk off. I got another dude. He wasn't bad. He told me, you know, he says, man, I think at that time I had like another year and a half to walk off. He was like, look, I'm pretty simple. If I call you, I'm going to call you a day or two ahead of time and tell you I'm coming out to the house to see you. Because he was from up north. And he's like, I'm not going to call you and tell you got to drive all the way up north to come into my office. If I tell you I'm coming down here to see you, I'll call you a day or two ahead of time. I understand if you got a doctor's appointment or something you got to go to, you can't miss. That's all good with me. And he said, he said, I really don't care if you go out and have a drink or not. I don't. He said, just don't be trashed or drunk when I get here. And I'm like, that's it? And he's like, yeah. I think that dude P tested me like 3 times in a year and a half. He's like, man, you're short. He's like, I read your whole thing. He said, you up on a case you didn't even do. And I go, yeah, no. He goes, I read the whole thing. He's like, I ain't fucking with you. If you got an issue, pick your phone up. You got my number, call me, say, hey man, this went down, whatever. And we'll work it out. I'm like, okay. All good.
You get off parole finally, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's your next steps? And do you go right back to the club? Do you still have your pass?
No, back in like 2000 and sometime in '06, I think the club put me out bad. I went back, got that reversed like a year later, get my stuff back. I get my stuff back in like, I'm going to tell you like the second or third thing I went to. My attorney calls me, he tells me we got to be in court tomorrow. And I'm like, well, we don't have a date to be, we got to be there. I got called, boom, non-association with the club. I'm like, okay. And, you know, they could have like popped my bond then because technically, like, I was out of state. So they could have pulled it then, but they didn't. You know, when I got out, by the time I got out, you know, the club knowing that a paid informant and member or ranking member of the Philadelphia Charter had set me up on a case, did not do what they should have done in taking care of my legal needs and things throughout any of it.